Have you ever noticed, my friend, how it's sometimes the simplest of concepts that can really make the greatest of impacts? Recently, I was reminded of just how powerful setting up contrasts can be, especially in the realm of storytelling. Of course, it's not always to say that all contrasts are intentional, as oftentimes we may see contrasts basically through the eye of the beholder. But contrasts remain a powerful tool in storytelling. And what really brought this to my mind and remembrance was actually seeing the kind of stark difference between two different characters entering how they entered into a story in a game I've been playing recently. And on one hand, we have this intruder who is furthering their own goals, and that is their focus, but they're use, basically operating under the midst of a siege of this place, and they have this indifference about them to the suffering that is going on as the siege is taking place. Whereas on the other hand, after the siege, we have this honored guest and friend coming to that place and is actually praising the people for how they've rebuilt in the aftermath of that siege. And it was actually later on that I was thinking about what really kind of stuck out to me about that and what really made that contrast for me. And what it was is that it was seeing them both ride up and exit the same elevator. And that's how easy contrast is. All it takes is having these true ideas, characters, scenes, whatever, and putting them in a situation where they will end up getting compared. And then sometimes this may not be intentional at all, and it can be something that we read into it, as we all tend to do because we see things more as we are rather than as they perfectly are. So we have to take that into account of things. But we should be aware of how contrast can be used purposely to actually make some really powerful points. In movies, this can actually be really easy to do since we can end up splicing these shots together so that it's almost like it's happening at the same time, so that it can actually be really hard not to actually see these two scenes in contrast to each other. One common way to do that would be having one character's death scene happening at the same time another character is giving birth. And so it gives these obvious parallels, but also giving the stark contrast in what's going on in both scenes. And another way to demonstrate contrast would be to show the difference in two characters' upbringing. For example, one could have a father that was gentle and kind to them, always giving the gifts, always praising them, and building them up, while another one may have been strict and harsh. And in fact, this could have even been the same father, but time and favoritism made the difference between the two. And this then brings the contrast between those two characters to another level, even if subtle, as their upbringing can influence their perspectives in ways that provide conflict and growth for both of them, because they don't have to be on different sides because of their upbringing. They can be on the same side and see the same goals, but they'll see certain situations in different lights, like if they have to deal with a father figure who is under some suspicion, one may be more willing to trust them because they know how good their father is, while the other one may be more suspicious because of how their father was. And so it's just those things to think about. But again, it's their choices on what they've done with their lives that can actually be in the greatest contrast. As example, for the first, they could have become selfish and arrogant since they could do no wrong and always got everything they wanted. And so they did this throne over top of sapphires and rubies, while the other one to be committed to becoming everything their father was not, or even having a will of iron that was forged simply because of what they've endured. And that's actually kind of brings up where the power of contrast is at its greatest strength. As because of the choices that people make, two people can end up experiencing the same things, but turn out completely different, or they try to experience different things and then turn out completely different than we would expect them to. There's a story that really puts it out, that really points this out, that I see on social media a lot, and that's of the twin boys who had an alcoholic father, where after they've grown up, one is an alcoholic and on the streets, while the other one is sober and really successful. Yet, they both say that the reason they are the way they are is because their father was a drunt. Because yes, circumstances can affect us, but what really matters is what we choose to do in those circumstances or in spite of them, in a sense. Another way to look at this is how many ads are basically life without product versus life with product. And it's that contrast that they use to try to push you to make the choice to get the product. And that's kind of the power of contrast, is that it allows us to demonstrate what life is and also what it could be. And the difference is to make simply because of a choice someone has made. At least that's how I look at the power of contrast. But what do you think about it? Why not share your thoughts in the comments below this video? And if you liked it, you can also share it with someone you think will as well. Anyway, I'm Jonah. You've been watching Lions Mane Media, where we celebrate stories and the lessons we learn from them. Talk to you later, and have a great rest of your day.